Dr. Minjun Park brushed dust from the stone wall and leaned closer. His headlamp illuminated strange markings carved deep into the ancient surface. They looked almost familiar, but that was impossible. These ruins were supposed to be over 2 billion years old. Find something interesting, human? Commander Thassix's voice carried the usual edge of contempt. The Velcrin officer towered over Minjun, his scaled skin gleaming purple under the artificial lights. Or are you simply wasting our time again? Minjun ignored the insult. He had learned that responding only made things worse. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council 200 years ago, but the older races still treated them like primitive newcomers. The Council gave humans strict boundaries, limited their technology, and rarely invited them to important projects. Minjun only got assigned to this expedition because someone needed to handle the basic excavation work. These markings are different from the others, Minjun said quietly. He traced the symbols with his gloved finger. They're simpler, more direct. The predecessor civilization used complex geometric patterns, but these look almost alphabetic. Vesistala, the Quilnari researcher, glided over on her floating platform. Her translucent body pulsed with curious blue light. Unlike Thassix, she had always treated Minjun with respect. May I see? Minjun stepped aside. Vesistala extended a sensory tendril and ran it across the markings. Her body flickered through several colors, then settled on a confused purple-green. You're correct, she said. These don't match any known predecessor patterns. How strange. The dating systems confirm this chamber is contemporary with the rest of the ruins, but the language appears to be from a different culture entirely. Perhaps the predecessors had slaves, Thassix suggested. Some lesser species they used for manual labor. That would explain the simplified writing. Minjun bit back his response. The Velcrin always assumed someone had to be lesser. He returned his attention to the wall, running his scanner over the symbols. The translation matrix in his equipment hummed as it worked, searching its vast database for matches. The results made his breath catch. That's impossible, he whispered. What is it? Vesitala asked. Minjun stared at his scanner. The computer says these symbols show similarities to Proto-Indo-European. That's one of humanity's ancestral languages. But these ruins predate Earth's formation by billions of years. It has to be a coincidence. Some kind of convergent evolution in language structure. Before anyone could respond, the ground shook. Small stones fell from the ceiling. The team stumbled as the tremors grew stronger. What did you do? Thassix roared at Minjun. Nothing. I just scanned the wall. The stone surface where Minjun had been standing began to glow. The symbols blazed with golden light. The entire wall shimmered and then simply vanished, revealing a massive chamber beyond. In the center stood a crystalline structure 3 times Minjun's height, pulsing with energy that made the air hum. By the ancestors, Vesistala breathed. The team cautiously entered the hidden chamber. Their lights played across walls covered in more of the strange symbols. Equipment that looked nothing like predecessor technology lined the space, covered in the dust of ages, but still, somehow active. Power readings on their scanners went wild. At the center of the crystalline structure, they could see something suspended inside. A stasis pod. There's someone in there, Minjun said. The figure inside looked humanoid. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. But something about the proportions seemed slightly off, as if looking at a human through a distorting lens. The being's skin had a faint golden tone, and even through the crystal, Minjun could see that it was massive, easily 2.5 meters tall. This is the discovery of a lifetime, Vestala said, her whole body glowing bright yellow with excitement. A perfectly preserved predecessor specimen. Commander, we must inform the Council immediately. Open it, Thassix commanded. What? Minjun spun to face him. We don't know anything about the stasis system. We could kill whoever's inside. We need to study this carefully. I give the orders here, human. Thassix strode toward the crystal structure. This being has been dead for eons. I want to see what the great predecessors really looked like. Commander, please. Vesistala tried to intervene, but Thasix was already examining the base of the pod. Minjun wanted to stop him, but what could he do? He was just a human. His opinion meant nothing here. He watched helplessly as Thasix found what looked like a control panel and pressed his hand against it. The crystal went from cloudy to clear. Energy rippled across its surface. Then, with a sound like breaking glass, the stasis field collapsed. The being's eyes opened. They were golden, like molten metal, and utterly aware. This was no ancient corpse. This was someone who had been sleeping and had just awakened. The eyes focused on Thasix, then swept across the rest of the team, finally landing on Minjun. The being sat up smoothly, without the confusion or disorientation anyone would expect from someone waking after billions of years. It looked at them each in turn, studying them with an intensity that made Minjun's skin prickle. Then it spoke. The words came out in a deep, resonant voice that seemed to vibrate through the stone itself. Minjun's translation matrix sputtered and whined, struggling to process the language. Then, it locked on, and text appeared on his display. Proto. Indo. European. Confidence level, 78%. How long? The being asked. Everyone stared. The translation matrices worn by the other team members finally caught up, rendering the words in their own languages. You speak? Thasix managed to say. You're alive? The being stood, towering over even Thasix. It moved with fluid grace, completely unbothered by having been frozen for eons. It repeated the question. This time, speaking in perfect galactic standard. How long have I slept? Vesistala found her voice first. The ruins around us are estimated at 2.3 billion years old. If you were here when they were built, 2.3 billion. The being processed this. Then the gardeners are long gone. As expected. It turned those golden eyes on Minjun again. You. Come here. Minjun approached on shaking legs. Up close, he could see that the being's features, while humanoid, had an otherworldly perfection to them. Like someone had taken the human form and refined it. What is your species? The being asked. Human. From Earth. Something changed in those golden eyes. Surprise? Recognition? Human, the being repeated. The children survived. They grew. They reached the stars. It placed a massive hand on Minjun's shoulder. Gently, almost reverently. I am Keeper Taeyang, guardian of the seed. Tell me, child, how do the others treat you? Minjun didn't know how to answer. The being's touch was warm, and something about its presence made him feel safe, protected. The council. They restrict us. They say we're too young, too dangerous. We're not allowed to expand our territory. Our technology is limited. They tolerate us, but they don't respect us. Keeper Taeyang's expression hardened. The temperature in the chamber dropped. They dare, the guardian whispered. After everything, after all the preparation, they dare to cage the children. Who are you? Thasix demanded. What are you? Keeper Taeyang didn't answer. Instead, the guardian walked to the chamber wall and placed a hand against it. The ancient technology responded instantly, lighting up. Holographic displays filled the air, showing star charts, genetic data, and information in languages nobody recognized. I require your database, Keeper Taeyang said. I must know the current state of the galaxy. Before anyone could respond, tendrils of light extended from the holographic displays and connected to their equipment. Minjun felt his scanner grow warm as information was pulled from it. The entire team's knowledge, everything they knew about the modern galaxy, flowed into the ancient systems. Keeper Taeyang stood motionless, absorbing it all. Minutes passed. The Guardian's expression grew darker with each passing moment. Finally, the light faded. Keeper Taeyang turned to face them, and Minjun saw something terrible in those golden eyes. Not anger, exactly. Something colder. Something that had been waiting for billions of years and would not be denied. The Council restricts them, the Guardian said softly. Limits them. Treats the greatest potential in the galaxy as a threat to be contained. Equipment that had been dark for eons came alive. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with energy. This ends now. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within 12 hours of the Guardian's awakening. Minjun stood in the massive chamber, feeling impossibly small. 7 representatives of the eldest races sat in their elevated positions, looking down at the handful of people who had been at the dig site. Council Speaker Zarvex, a Velcrin with deep purple scales that marked his age and authority, dominated the proceedings. His voice echoed through the chamber as he addressed Commander Thasix. Explain how your team managed to release an unknown entity without following proper protocols. Thasix stood at attention, but Min Jun could see the tension in his posture. The chamber opened unexpectedly. Speaker. The being inside identifies itself as Keeper Taeyang, a self-proclaimed guardian. It claims connection to humanity and the ancient Gardener civilization. A ripple of interest went through the council. The Gardeners were legend, a civilization so old that even the predecessors might have been their descendants. Most council races considered them myth. Connection to humanity? Zarvex's laugh was harsh. The humans arrived in space barely 2 centuries ago. They still use chemical propulsion for some of their vessels. What could they have to do with the Gardeners? Minjun felt heat rise in his face, but before he could speak, Vesistala stepped forward. With respect, Speaker, the linguistic evidence is compelling. The symbols in the hidden chamber show clear similarities to human proto-languages, and the entity's reaction upon learning of humanity's existence was significant. It appeared to recognize them. Coincidence, said Councilmember Drex, a crystalline being whose race had been spacefaring for 30 million years. Or delusion. Ancient AIs sometimes develop strange quirks after eons of isolation. Keeper Taeyang is not an AI, Minjun said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. He swallowed hard but continued. It's biological. Our scans confirm that, and its technology is beyond anything we've ever seen. It accessed our entire database in seconds. It learned 200,000 years of galactic history in minutes. Then it is a threat, Zarvex declared. An unknown entity with advanced technology and apparent interest in humanity. The Council will dispatch forces to contain the situation. Contain? Minjun couldn't stay quiet anymore. You mean attack? You're going to attack something you don't understand because it makes you nervous. Silence, human. Zarvex snapped. You forget your place. Humanity exists in Council space. By our generosity. You have no vote here. No voice in these decisions. 1. Out of nest. 1. Out of nest. 1. Perhaps that is the problem, Vesistala said softly. Before Zarvex could respond, every display in the council chamber flickered. The main holographic projector activated without anyone touching the controls. Security officers rushed forward, but there was nothing they could do. The Council's most advanced cybersecurity systems had been bypassed as if they didn't exist. Keeper Taeyang appeared before them. A holographic projection so detailed it looked solid. The Guardian stood 3 meters tall in the center of the chamber, golden eyes sweeping across the assembled council members. I am Keeper Taeyang, the Guardian said, its voice resonating from every speaker in the building. I have reviewed your databases. I have seen how you treat the children. It ends now. I have reviewed. Zarvex recovered quickly. You invade council chambers with threats? You confirm that you are a danger. I state facts, not threats. The territorial restrictions you have placed on humanity are dissolved. The technological sanctions are lifted. The children will take their rightful place among the stars. Or you will answer to powers older than your civilizations. The chamber erupted. Council members shouted over each other. Security forces surrounded the hologram uselessly. Min-jun stood frozen, unable to believe what he was witnessing. "You cannot simply declare council law invalid," Zarvex said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We are the 7 eldest races. We have maintained galactic peace for 50 million years. No single being, regardless of age or technology, dictates terms to us." Keeper Taeyang's expression didn't change. "Then you choose conflict. I gave you the opportunity to correct your mistake peacefully. You refuse. So be it. Guards, terminate this transmission," Zarvex commanded. Technicians worked frantically at their stations, but nothing happened. The hologram remained solid and present. "Your technology cannot touch me," Keeper Taeyang said. "I am giving you 48 hours to remove all restrictions on humanity. After that time, if you have not complied, I will demonstrate why the gardeners created guardians. You will learn what it means to face something built to protect the seed." The hologram vanished. The displays returned to normal. In the silence that followed, nobody seemed to know what to say. Finally, Zarvex spoke, his voice cold with fury. "We will not be dictated to by ancient machines or primitive humans who found a powerful toy." He turned to his military advisor. "Dispatch the Third Fleet to the archaeological site. Full battle configuration. I want that entity captured or destroyed within 72 hours. Speaker, please reconsider," Vesitala tried. "We don't know what we're dealing with. The Keeper has shown restraint so far. If we attack, if we show weakness, every upstart species in the galaxy will think they can threaten us," Zarvex interrupted. "The Third Fleet is our most powerful force. 300 warships with the latest weapons technology. Whatever this Guardian is, it will learn that the Council is not to be trifled with." Min-jun felt sick. 300 warships. Keeper Taeyang had been alone, asleep, for billions of years. Could it really stand against the Council's might? And what would happen to humanity if the Guardian was destroyed? Would the Council punish them for its actions? The session ended. As people filed out, Min-jun found himself approached by Thasix. "This is your fault, human," the commander hissed. "You and your species brought this catastrophe upon us. If the Council suffers losses because of this, humanity will pay the price." Min-jun wanted to argue, but what could he say? Thasix wasn't entirely wrong. None of this would have happened if Min-jun hadn't found that chamber. He returned to his temporary quarters on the Council station, his mind racing. His personal communicator chimed. An unknown source. He almost ignored it. But something made him answer. Keeper Taeyang's face appeared on the screen. "Dr. Park, I hope I am not disturbing you. How did you? Our communications are supposed to be secure. Security is an illusion when you understand the underlying principles." The Guardian's expression softened slightly. "I wish to speak with you privately. You must come to the ruins. Alone. There are things you need to understand about your species before the Council learns them through violence. The Council is sending their Third Fleet to attack you. I know. I have 41 hours before they arrive. Enough time to show you the truth. Will you come?" Min-jun thought about refusing. This was insane. The Guardian was dragging humanity into a conflict with the entire Council. But those golden eyes held something that made him trust this ancient being, despite everything. "I'll come," he said. "Good. A shuttle will arrive at your station in 3 hours. Do not tell anyone where you are going. Some truths must be understood before they can be shared." The screen went dark. Min-jun sat in his quarters, wondering what he had just agreed to. Outside his window, he could see ships beginning to gather. The Third Fleet, assembling for war. In 3 days, everything would change. He pulled up files on his personal computer. Information about humanity's history, their place in the Council, the restrictions they lived under. He had accepted it all as normal, the way things had to be. Young species had to earn their place slowly. carefully. The Council knew best. But what if they didn't? What if Keeper Tae-young was right, and humanity had been caged for no reason other than fear? His communicator chimed again. A message from Earth. His mother, asking if he was safe, if the rumors about some ancient being threatening the Council were true. He sent back a brief reply, telling her not to worry, that everything would be fine. He hoped he wasn't lying. 3 hours later, Min-jun boarded an unmarked shuttle that docked with the station. The pilot was a construct, some kind of advanced robot that moved with impossible grace. It said nothing. Simply guided the ship away from Council space, toward the distant ruins. Min-jun watched the stars stream past, and wondered what truth the Guardian wanted to show him, and whether humanity was ready for it. The Third Fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 300 warships arranged in battle clusters, weapons powered, shields at maximum. Commander Thasix stood on the bridge of the flagship, staring at the ruins on his main display. All ships report ready, Commander. His tactical officer said. Hail the entity, Thasix ordered. One final chance to surrender. The communication went out. Seconds passed. Then, Keeper Tae-young's face appeared on every screen in the fleet. Commander Thasix, you were warned. You are surrounded by the greatest military force in the galaxy, Thasix said. Your technology may be ancient, but you are alone. Surrender now, and the Council may show mercy. Mercy, the Guardian repeated. Like the mercy you have shown humanity, restricting their growth, limiting their potential, treating them as dangerous children who must be controlled. Keeper Tae-young shook its head. No. You will learn today what happens when you cage what was meant to fly free. All ships, Thasix commanded. Open fire. 300 warships unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Plasma cannons, particle beams, kinetic missiles, everything the Council's best military technology could produce. Enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. All of it focused on the ancient ruins. The energy blasts reached the structure and simply stopped. An invisible barrier rippled into visibility, absorbing every attack. The shield didn't flicker or strain. It looked as solid as reality itself. Increase power, Thasix ordered. Full bombardment. The fleet poured more energy into their attack. The shields around the ruins continued to hold effortlessly. Thasix felt sweat form on his scales. This wasn't possible. Nothing should be able to withstand this much concentrated fire. Commander, the entity is emerging from the ruins, his sensor officer reported. On the display, Keeper Tae-young floated out of the structure. No ship, no armor, no visible protection. The Guardian simply stood in the vacuum of space as if it were solid ground. Then the being spoke, and every person in the fleet heard the words directly in their mind, translated perfectly into their own language. I told you that you were warned. Now you will understand what you face. Keeper Tae-young reached out and touched space itself. Reality rippled from that point of contact, spreading out in waves that washed over the Third Fleet. Thasix gripped his command chair as the wave passed through his ship. Nothing happened. No damage, no system failures. Just a strange tingling sensation. Then his weapons officer screamed. Thasix spun to look at his tactical display. Every weapon on every ship in the fleet was changing. Plasma cannons were transforming into sculptures of frozen light, beautiful and completely useless. Missile bays filled with flowering plants, their roots somehow growing in vacuum. Hull plating reorganized into crystalline patterns that looked like art. What is happening? Someone shouted. Thasix watched in horror as his flagship's main cannon twisted itself into what looked like a musical instrument. 300 warships, the pride of the Council military, were being transformed into harmless sculptures. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply made unable to hurt anyone. Weapons status? He managed to ask. All offensive systems non-functional, Commander. But life support is fine. Shields are fine. Engines work. He just took away everything we could use to hurt him. Keeper Taeyang's voice filled their minds again. I do not wish to harm you, but I will not allow the children to be caged any longer. This is not a threat. It is simply truth. Thasix felt something he hadn't experienced in his long military career. True fear. This being could have killed them all. Could have torn their ships apart. Instead, it had simply made them harmless, demonstrating power beyond anything the Council possessed. Stand down, Thasix ordered quietly. All ships, cease hostilities. Commander, did you not see? It could have destroyed us. It chose mercy. Stand down. Far from the fleet, on a small observation station Minjun had been brought to, he watched the confrontation unfold. Keeper Taeyang stood beside him, solid now, rather than holographic. You didn't kill anyone, Minjun said quietly. Why would I? They are misguided, not evil. They acted from fear, not malice. There is no honor in destroying those who simply do not understand. What are you going to do now? Show them the truth. Show the galaxy what humanity really is, and what the gardeners intended. The Guardian turned to face Minjun. It is time you understood as well, child. Sit. Listen. Learn what you are. Minjun sat. Keeper Taeyang began to speak, and the words reshaped everything Minjun thought he knew about humanity. Billions of years ago, a race called the Gardeners existed. They were not the first intelligence in the universe, but they became the greatest. They asked a question. Could they create life that would surpass even them? Could they plant seeds that would grow into something magnificent? Images appeared in the air between them. Holographic records from an age before Earth existed. Beautiful beings of light and matter, working with the building blocks of life itself. The gardeners seeded life across the galaxy. They created templates, biological frameworks that could evolve and adapt. Most races descended from these seeds were specialized. The Velcrin became powerful and durable. The Quilnari became analytical and wise. The crystalline races became patient and enduring. Each was perfect for their environment, stable in their evolution. The images shifted, showing different alien species emerging on different worlds, but the gardeners wanted more. They wanted to create a seed that wasn't specialized for one environment, but could adapt to anything. A species that would never stop changing, never stop growing. They designed humanity. Minjun felt his breath catch. We were designed? Not created directly. Designed. The gardeners planted the template on Earth, in its oceans, and let it evolve naturally. But the template was special. Humans would be physically weaker than most species, but mentally flexible. You would have shorter lives, but greater creativity. You would be emotionally complex, sometimes to the point of chaos, because emotions drive growth and change. The Council says we're dangerous, Minjun whispered. You are dangerous. But not in the way they think. You are dangerous to stagnation, to comfortable stability, to the idea that evolution ends. Every other race in the Council has barely changed in millions of years. They are stable, content with what they are. But humans? You went from primitive hunters to space travelers in mere thousands of years. You change generation by generation. You never stop adapting. Keeper Taeyang's expression grew sad. The gardeners knew that stable species would fear this chaos, would want to control it, limit it, maybe destroy it. So they created us, the Guardians. Our only purpose was to protect humanity until you could stand on your own. But you slept for billions of years. The gardeners vanished in a great cataclysm before humanity even existed. We went into stasis to wait. We were programmed to wake if the children ever needed us. When you opened that chamber, when I accessed the data and saw how the Council treats you, the protocols activated. Minjun looked at his hands. So we're an experiment. A science project. You are the gardener's legacy. Their final gift to the universe. Not a weapon, not a replacement for other species. A catalyst. Something to keep the galaxy from becoming stagnant and dying. You are meant to inspire others to grow, to challenge them, to show them that evolution never truly ends. The Guardian stood and walked to the window, looking out at the transformed fleet. But the Council doesn't understand this. They see only threat. So, I will make them understand. I will visit each homeworld and show them the truth. And they will learn to see humanity not as a danger, but as the gift you were meant to be. What if they still don't listen? Keeper Taeyang turned back to him, and for the first time, Min Jun saw something hard in those golden eyes. Then I will wake the other guardians. There are 7 of us, 1 for each council race that might threaten the children. I am merely the first. If the council insists on conflict, they will learn that humanity has protectors who will not fail them. Min Jun thought about that. 7 beings like Keeper Taeyang, each powerful enough to transform an entire fleet. The council wouldn't stand a chance. I don't want war, he said. Neither do I. That is why I will show them truth first. Violence is always the last option, child. The gardeners taught us that. Protect the children, yes, but also teach, guide, help others understand. The Guardian placed a hand on Min Jun's shoulder. You will help me do this. You will speak for humanity. Show the council that you are people, not threats. Together, we will change their fear into understanding. And if we can't, then I will do what I was created to do. I will guard the seed, no matter the cost. Min Jun looked out at the fleet of transformed ships and wondered if the galaxy was ready for the truth. Wondered if humanity was ready to be what the gardeners had designed them to become. He thought about the restrictions humanity had accepted, the limits they had lived under, all because the council feared what humans might become. And he realized Keeper Taeyang was right. That fear had to end. Where do we start? He asked. The Guardian smiled. With the council homeworlds. One by one, I will show them what the gardeners created, and they will understand. Keeper Taeyang appeared in the sky above Velcris Prime without warning. Every screen on the planet displayed the Guardian's image. Every communication device broadcast its voice. Billions of Velcrin looked up to see the ancient being hovering above their capital city. People of Velcris, Keeper Taeyang said, I come not as an enemy, but as a teacher. You fear humanity. Today, you will learn why that fear is unnecessary. Speaker Zarvex ordered planetary defenses to fire, but like the fleet's weapons, they simply refused to function. The Guardian had neutralized them, without visible effort. What happened next shocked the galaxy. Keeper Taeyang didn't attack. Instead, the Guardian showed them the truth. Holographic displays filled the sky above every major Velcrin city, showing geological records from their own planet. An ancient gardener station had once orbited Velcris, but it was destroyed by a cosmic disaster before completing its work. Your species was seeded 300 million years ago, the Guardian explained. The gardeners made you strong, durable, long-lived. You became perfect for your environment. You are stable, powerful. But look at your evolutionary timeline. Everyone. Look at your evolutionary timeline. The displays showed Velcrin evolution. From primitive reptilian ancestors to their current form, spanning 300 million years. But the changes were minimal. The Velcrin of 100 million years ago looked almost identical to modern Velcrin. You have barely changed, Keeper Taeyang said. You reached evolutionary stability and stopped growing. There is no shame in this. The gardeners designed you for strength and endurance. But humanity was designed differently. The displays shifted to show human evolution. From early primates to modern humans in only a few million years. The changes were dramatic, and the timeline showed something else. Even in the past few thousand years, humans had continued to adapt. lactose tolerance appearing in some populations, high-altitude adaptations in others. Humans never stopped changing. You fear them because they are unstable, the Guardian continued. But instability is growth. Chaos is adaptation. Humanity was designed to never stop evolving because the gardeners wanted to create a species that would keep the galaxy from stagnating. Min Jun watched from the Guardian's station as the truth spread across Velcris Prime. He had traveled with Keeper Taeyang to witness this revelation. The Velcrin people's reaction was visible in their communication networks, which the Guardian had tapped into. Some were angry, denying the information. Others were thoughtful, beginning to question their assumptions. A few were frightened, wondering what else they didn't know about the universe. Keeper Taeyang moved to the next homeworld. Quilnar, home of the scholarly race that valued knowledge above all. Here, the Guardian's approach was different. People of Quilnar, Keeper Taeyang addressed them. You pride yourselves on wisdom and learning, so I will share knowledge with you. The Guardian opened the ancient archives, databases containing the gardener's research. Information that had been locked away for billions of years suddenly became accessible to Quilnari scientists. They dove into it with enthusiasm, their translucent bodies glowing bright with excitement. But as they studied the data, they discovered something humbling. Human brains were wired differently from theirs. Quilnari thought in logical progressions, following clear paths from question to answer. They were brilliant at it, capable of calculations and analysis that humans couldn't match. But humans made intuitive leaps. They connected unrelated concepts and saw patterns that pure logic might miss. They could hold contradictory ideas simultaneously and find truth in the tension between them. It was messy, chaotic, often wrong, but sometimes it led to breakthroughs that linear thinking would never discover. Vesis Tala, studying the data from her home city, felt her understanding shift. She had always thought humans were simply less intelligent than Quilnari, that their scattered thinking was a flaw. But the gardener's research showed it was intentional design. Humans weren't worse at thinking. They thought differently, and that difference had value. She immediately published a paper arguing for collaborative research programs between Quilnari and human scientists. If they combined Quilnari logic with human creativity, what might they discover? The response was immediate. Hundreds of Quilnari researchers expressed interest. The fear of humanity began to crack, replaced by curiosity. Keeper Taeyang visited 5 more homeworlds, showing each the truth about the gardener's design. Some reacted with anger, others with fascination. But everywhere, the revelation spread. Humanity wasn't a random threat. They were intentionally designed to be what they were. On Earth, the reaction was chaos. Some humans celebrated, proud to learn they were special. Others felt angry at being called someone's experiment. Many were simply confused about what it all meant. Min Jun addressed humanity through a broadcast that Keeper Taeyang helped him arrange. We weren't created to replace anyone, he said. We were designed to inspire growth, to show others that evolution doesn't end, that change isn't something to fear. The gardeners gave us adaptability and chaos because the universe needs both stability and change to thrive. But while many council races began to reconsider their stance on humanity, the hardline factions grew more desperate. If humans were designed to be disruptive, didn't that make them more dangerous? Not less? The question divided the council into 2 camps. Then everything changed. A radical Velcrin faction, operating without official approval, deployed a planet-killer weapon. These devices had been banned by council law for 10 million years, but a few still existed in secret military caches. They aimed it at Earth and fired before anyone could stop them. The weapon tore through space, a gravitational disruption that would collapse Earth's core and tear the planet apart. It would kill 10 billion humans in minutes. Keeper Taeyang intercepted it between dimensions. Min Jun felt the Guardian's presence vanish from the station they shared. One moment the being was beside him, the next it was simply gone. On every display screen, people watched as Keeper Taeyang appeared in space between Earth and the oncoming weapon. The Guardian reached out and touched the device. Reality twisted. The weapon stopped, frozen in a stasis field that existed partially outside normal space. Keeper Taeyang held it there, suspended, contained. Then the Guardian did something nobody expected. It transported the weapon to the council chambers and placed it at the feet of the assembled representatives. "This is your fear made manifest," Keeper Taeyang said to them. The Guardian's voice was cold, harder than Min-jun had ever heard it. "You would murder 10 billion children because they might someday surpass you. You would rather destroy potential than embrace it. The gardeners would weep to see what their other seeds became." The chamber was silent. Even Zarvex seemed shaken by how close they had come to genocide. "I have shown you restraint," the Guardian continued. "I have educated rather than destroyed. I have tried to help you understand. But if you insist on seeing the children as enemies to be eliminated, I will wake the other Guardians. 7 keepers exist, sleeping, waiting. I am only the first. Wake them all, and your council will face beings for whom I am merely the opening warning." "You threaten us?" someone asked weakly. "I state consequences. The gardeners created us to protect humanity until they could protect themselves. We will fulfill that purpose, whatever the cost. You have 48 hours to decide. Accept humanity as full equals, with all restrictions removed, or face the awakened Guardians. Choose wisely." The Guardian vanished, taking the planet-killer weapon with it. Min-jun stood alone on the observation station, watching Earth below. His home, nearly destroyed by fear and hatred. He thought about Keeper Taeyang's words, about being designed to inspire growth. Right now, humanity was inspiring fear instead. His communicator chimed. Vess's Tala's face appeared. "Dr. Park, I need your help. A coalition is forming, younger races, and some moderate older races. We want to propose a compromise to the council, but we need a human voice, someone to explain what your people truly want." "What do we want?" Min-jun asked, more to himself than to her. "That is what we need you to tell us." Min-jun looked at Earth, beautiful and blue and so very fragile. He thought about the restrictions humanity had lived under, accepted as normal. The limits on their expansion, their technology, their voice in galactic affairs. "We want to be trusted," he said finally. "We want to be seen as partners, not threats. We want the chance to show what we can be, not what you fear we might become. Then come to the council chambers. Help us make them understand before the Guardians wake." Min-jun took one last look at his homeworld and prepared to speak for all humanity. The galaxy's future depended on what happened in the next 48 hours. He hoped he was ready. The council chamber had never been so crowded. Representatives from every member species packed the space, including humans for the first time in history. Min-jun stood in the center, feeling the weight of billions of eyes on him. Speaker Zarvex called the emergency session to order. His voice was strained, lacking its usual confidence. "We face an unprecedented situation. An ancient entity demands we remove all restrictions on humanity, or face war with beings we cannot defeat. This council has never negotiated under threat. Some argue we should refuse on principle, even if it means conflict. Others say we should comply. Dr. Min-jun Park will speak for humanity." Min-jun walked to the central platform. His hands shook, but he kept his voice steady. "Members of the council, I understand your fear. Keeper Taeyang's revelations have been shocking for everyone, including humans. We didn't know we were designed. We didn't ask to be made disruptive or chaotic. But this is what we are." He pulled up a holographic display showing human history. "In our short time in space, we have caused problems. We ask too many questions. We challenge accepted ways. We want to try things that older races consider wasteful or dangerous. I won't lie and say we're easy to deal with." Murmurs of agreement from some council members. At least they were listening. But look at what we've also done, Minjun continued. The display shifted to show human artists, scientists, explorers. We create beauty. We solve problems in unexpected ways. We form deep bonds with other species despite our differences. Yes, we're chaotic. But chaos isn't always bad. Sometimes, chaos is just another word for growth. A Velcrin council member stood. You ask us to accept risk, to allow your species to spread without limits. What happens when you surpass us? When your adaptation makes our stability obsolete, you may not mean to replace us, but natural selection doesn't care about intentions. Minjun nodded. That's a fair concern. But Keeper Taeyang showed you the truth. We're not meant to replace anyone. The gardeners designed different species for different purposes. Your strength and stability are valuable. Our adaptability is valuable. We need each other. Vesistala rose from her seat. If I may speak, I have analyzed the gardeners' research extensively. Dr. Park is correct. Humanity was designed as a catalyst, not a replacement. In chemistry, a catalyst enables reactions without being consumed. It helps other elements transform while remaining distinct itself. She projected her own data. The gardener's notes suggest they feared galactic stagnation. When every species reaches evolutionary stability, growth stops. Ideas stop flowing. Civilizations maintain themselves perfectly but create nothing new. They wanted humanity to prevent that, to keep inspiring change in others. By disrupting our peace? Another council member challenged. By reminding you that peace without growth is just slow death, Minjun said. And we can help with that. Not by conquering or dominating, but by collaborating. Quilnari logic combined with human creativity. Velcrin's strength guiding human adaptability. Every species has something unique. Together, we could achieve what none could alone. The debate raged for hours. The hardliners argued that giving in to Keeper Taeyang's demands would show weakness. The moderates countered that the restrictions on humanity had been born from fear, not wisdom. Finally, an unexpected voice spoke. Council member Drex, the ancient crystalline being who had dismissed the Guardian as a delusion, stood. I have lived for 18 million years, Drex said in a voice like wind through canyons. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have watched the Council maintain order through countless challenges, and I have seen us become comfortable, safe, unchanging. The chamber fell silent. Drex rarely spoke, but when the ancient being did, everyone listened. The human is correct. We have peace, but we have no growth. We maintain what we have, but create nothing new. I did not think this was a problem. But the Guardian's archives show that every civilization the gardeners seeded before humanity eventually stagnated and declined. We are stable. Yes, but stability taken too far becomes rigidity, and rigid things break. Drex turned its crystalline body toward Minjun. I propose a compromise. Humanity receives full council membership with all restrictions removed. In exchange, they establish joint research and development programs with every interested council race. They share their chaos. We share our stability. And together, we grow. Zarvex looked around the chamber, gauging reactions. Is there support for this proposal? One by one, council members indicated agreement. Not all of them. Not even most at first. But enough. The younger races supported it enthusiastically. Some older races agreed cautiously. The tide was turning. There is still the matter of the Guardian, Zarvex said. Even if we agree to these terms, we cannot set a precedent of yielding to threats. As if summoned by its name, Keeper Taeyang appeared in the chamber, not as a hologram this time but physically present, having somehow bypassed all security. Then do not yield to threats, the Guardian said calmly. Yield to wisdom. The restrictions you placed on humanity were always wrong. They harmed the children and limited the galaxy. Remove them because it is right, not because I demanded it. Zarvex bristled. You invade our chambers and speak of wisdom? I speak of purpose. The gardeners created me with one directive: protect the seed until they can stand on their own. I have fulfilled that purpose. You now understand what humanity is and why they were made. They no longer need constant protection. They need only fairness. The guardian turned to Minjun. I am proud of you, child. You spoke well for your people. You showed them that humanity seeks partnership, not domination. What will you do now? Minjun asked. Return to sleep. I am no longer needed. Humanity has allies now. Understanding now. A place in the galaxy now. My work is complete. Keeper Taeyang looked around the chamber. But I will always be listening. If the children need me again, I will wake. That is my purpose. That is my promise. The guardian walked to Minjun and placed both hands on his shoulders. Remember what you are. Remember what the gardeners intended. Be the catalyst that keeps the galaxy growing, but also be kind, be wise. Be worthy of the gift you were given. I'll try, Minjun said. Keeper Taeyang smiled. That is all anyone can do. The guardian turned to face the council one last time. I leave the children in your care. Treasure them. Learn from them. Grow with them. If you do, the galaxy will flourish. If you do not, I and my siblings will return. Choose wisely. With that, Keeper Taeyang vanished. The council took a formal vote. The proposal passed narrowly. Humanity would receive full membership, all restrictions removed, in exchange for cooperative development programs with any interested species. It wasn't perfect. Many council members voted against it. The hardliners left the chamber angry. But it was a beginning. Minjun was offered the position of First Ambassador, a newly created role representing humanity's full status. He accepted. Knowing the work ahead would be difficult, changing billions of years of assumptions wouldn't happen overnight. But it would happen. Within weeks, Quilnari scientists arrived on Earth to establish joint research facilities. Velcrin military advisors offered to help train human defense forces properly. Dozens of other species reached out, curious about working with humanity now that fear no longer dominated the relationship. 3 months later, Minjun stood in his new office on Council Central Station, reviewing proposals for collaborative projects. His communicator chimed. Vesus Tala, with news. We found something in the gardener's archives, she said, her body glowing excited yellow. References to 3 more Guardian sites. Keeper Taeyang wasn't alone. There are others, still sleeping. Minjun felt a chill. Should we wake them? No. But we should protect those sites. The Guardians are humanity's legacy, part of your history. They should be preserved. I agree. Send me the coordinates. I'll make sure the Council designates them as protected archaeological sites. After she disconnected, Minjun stood looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, more Guardians slept, waiting for a need that hopefully would never come. He thought about Keeper Taeyang's final words. Be worthy of the gift you were given. Humanity had been given a chance, a real place in the galaxy, not limited by fear but empowered by understanding. What they did with that chance would determine if the Guardian's faith was justified. His assistant, a young Quilnari named Res, floated into the office. Ambassador, the first joint exploration mission is ready to launch. Human and Velcrin cruise together, exploring the outer rim. They're asking if you want to say anything to them before departure. Minjun smiled. Tell them to be curious. Be bold. Show the galaxy what cooperation between chaos and stability can achieve. As Res left to relay the message, Minjun pulled up an image of Earth on his display. His home, no longer caged by fear, but free to grow. And around it, not enemies but partners, learning together how to build a galaxy that never stopped evolving. In the distant ruins, Keeper Taeyang's chamber pulsed gently with residual energy. The guardian slept, its purpose fulfilled, but its promise eternal. Listening, waiting, ready to protect the children if ever they needed protection again. But for now, humanity could stand on its own. And that was exactly as it should be. The beginning of a new era for the galaxy, guided by both stability and chaos, wisdom and creativity, order and adaptation. Together, they would grow, and the gardeners, wherever they were, would be proud.